The Daily Network presents 10-11. 10 minutes of meaningful conversation with immigrant leaders and entrepreneurs every Friday at 11 a.m.
Hi, Sonia. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Great. I'm great. And it's good to have you here at Daily Networks 1011. So tell us about you and some background story.
Yeah. I was born and raised in a little island off of Portugal, so I'm Portuguese. I came to Canada when I was 10 years old, back in 1988. I
Mhm,
am the middle child of five kids. I have two older siblings and two younger siblings.
mhm. And so which part are you here right now in Canada?
I when we came to Canada, I actually lived in Cambridge, Ontario. That's where I grew up, went to school and everything. And then at the age of 18, I moved to Toronto,
Mhm,
and that's where I am now. I've been in Toronto for a few years.
mhm. Okay. No, I'm very interested. Can you tell us a little bit about Portugal?
Yeah, Portugal is an absolutely beautiful country. Unless you live in the islands. The islands are a little isolated. They're absolutely beautiful nature-wise,
Mhm,
but they're very, very small, so there aren't a lot of opportunities, I would say.
mhm,
In order to really get opportunities, you have to move to like the capital, which would be Lisbon or something like that. But they are beautiful islands, very virgin, not a lot of tourism there yet, a lot of nature. I think it was a really great place to be born and raised. It was, we had a normal childhood to
mhm.
sort of say, going outside, getting dirty, falling, climbing trees. It wasn't bad.
Correct, correct. I missed that too. Now, Sonia, I know that you're doing something really, really good right now. Can you please share that to our viewers as well?
Yeah, so I've been in the tech industry for about 15 years now, and I am the founder of a tech company called Menusano. And Menusano sort of puts two things in place that I'm very passionate about, which is health and tech. So what Menusano does, it's a tool for businesses in the food service industry to get the nutrition analysis that they require for their menus or products. So instead of a food service having to send dishes and recipes out to a lab to get analyzed, they can use our software to do all of the analysis and get the actual labels to print for their products on the fly, on the go, done quickly. So that's sort of the tool that we provide.
Oh, okay. So what I'm getting is that your clientele is actually the food, not direct, but it's actually like the restaurant, something like
Yeah,
that, right? Okay.
it's business to business, not
Business to
consumer.
business. Oh, okay. So what made you decide to focus on that part?
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I'm a breast cancer survivor, so I'm sort of, very health conscious about what I eat, what I put in my body, counting calories and stuff like that. And before Ontario passed legislation that restaurants had to show that information on the menus, there was nothing in place. So you would go out and eat and you wouldn't know what you're eating or you wouldn't get any information about the dishes. But when you go to a grocery store and you purchase something out of a box, you can turn that box around and the nutrition information is available. So you can see the ingredients, you can see the calories, you can educate yourself if that's something that you choose to do. And
Mm-hmm,
we couldn't get that in restaurants at the time.
mm-hmm.
So since I was in tech, I got together with a couple of other people and we thought, why don't we build something that will encourage food service industries to start providing that information so that when consumers go out to a restaurant to eat, they can make healthier choices for their body, for their diet, for their needs. And one of the reasons why we particularly wanted to do this was to help people with type 1 and type 2 diabetes. It's a very it's a disease that can't be cured, but it can be 100% managed through good diet. So people with diabetes, what they need to watch for is carbohydrates. And when they have access to that information, they can make really good healthy decisions and sort of keep their diabetes in check by eating the right foods.
So when you were starting this business and when you were going, because you mentioned that you were into business to business, right? I know from my own experience, like penetrating business to business industry, it's not that easy, right? What were the challenges so far, especially with this one?
Well, when we first started it, we did it sort of as a passion project. It was something we were like, oh, this is awesome. Let's get it out there. And then we realized nobody wanted it when we started knocking on restaurants' doors. Restaurants had the fear that if people knew what they were eating at a restaurant, they wouldn't go back there and eat there. So they weren't looking at the benefits to the consumer. They were looking at, you know, we don't really know what's in our food. Once we start exposing that information, it's going to be bad for us. So we kind of developed this tool that we loved, but nobody wanted it. So what we did was we reached out to government, and because we had heard that Ontario wanted to put something in place. So we reached out to public health, and it just so happened that they were trying to put together a pilot project in Ontario to see if they were to put legislation in place, how it would, you know, work out. So they put together a pilot project for 1 year, which was called the Diner Savvy program. And menu was the tool that was selected to be part of the pilot. And so we got to work with Ottawa and Toronto Public Health on this pilot project for about a year. And it gave exposure to our tool to dietitians, to chefs. And we worked with a couple hundred restaurants in Ontario. Once that pilot project was done, that's when legislation went into place. And the legislation in Ontario is that restaurant chains with 20 plus locations have to show the calorie information on their menus. So being part of that pilot project really helped us you know, confirm the tool, get it tested by public health. And once the legislation passed, now restaurants that had to comply had to show that information. So now we could go back to the original restaurants that had that fear, and now we could say, you know, now you need to put this in place. Here's a tool for you. One of the things that we identified during COVID, restaurants shut down, they couldn't be open. We actually discovered that the majority of our clientele actually wasn't restaurants. It was actually the food manufacturing facilities. So our business really grew during COVID, which I know is the opposite of a lot of other businesses in the manufacturing sector. So now the tool is, you know, I think 65% of the tool is used by food manufacturers. The other percentages are restaurants. A lot of bakery, pizza shops use it, and a lot of food startups as well.
Wow. Well, I'm just learning a lot right now. I'm learning a lot because, you know, when you mentioned it first, you went to the restaurant and you get a no. Okay. So the door was closed, but it opened another one, like a bigger one, right? Are
Yeah.
you just located or like limited to Ontario? Are you not like, are you planning to go here in Alberta or maybe to other provinces as well?
We are actually a worldwide company. We are selling our software all over the world. We have a lot of it in Canada, not as much in Canada as in the US. So our biggest market is in the US. We also sell in Qatar, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, South America, Central America, Europe. We have clients globally.
Wow, perfect. That's so
And
great.
that's actually really happened for us during COVID, which I know is
During COVID, right? Again, some doors closes, another one open, right? A bigger one. Now, Sonia, with that, I would also like to learn what are the greatest achievements so far that you have with this business?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm always encouraging women to go into tech. I know it's a very male-dominated industry, and I think one of the biggest achievements for me is that the company is woman-led. I hire a lot of women to be, you know, at the table. We have men too that are really smart. I think it's a really good combination to have both. Everyone brings something to the table, but I'm really proud that it is a woman-led tech company in the food service space, which is also male dominated, and that we've been able to, overcome some of the challenges. I think a lot of companies, startups particularly, who have an idea and build something and want to go to market and get rejected like we did right from the get-go, sort of give up. And I think it was really good that I sort of took a couple of steps back and said, I'm not giving up, but I need to sit down and really think about how to pivot the company or how to go about it a different way. I'm not giving up, but I'm not going to keep knocking on doors and keep getting rejected. Obviously, there's a problem here, and identifying that problem was key. So taking a step back and then restarting and figuring out what was a good market and figuring out how to go about, getting an industry, which in our case was working with government, getting legislation in place, and making sure that the tool was something that was going to be needed later on. I think that's a huge achievement, to be able to say, what we did isn't working. What are we going to do to make it work?
Correct.
And not,
Identifying the problem.
yeah.
Okay. Sonia, can you recommend a book for women, especially like women in tech? Do you have like a book in mind?
I love reading. To think of something off the top of my head, I would say one of my favorite books is actually Persuasion by Arlene Dickinson. She's one
Yeah.
of she's on Dragon's Den. And since I was actually pretty young, in my early 20s, I guess because she's Canadian as well, and she was a woman who sort of started from nothing after divorce. I've always loved her story. So that book really inspired me and sort of, helped me start on my journey.
I'm smiling because she was here in Calgary last summer, I think, and I just got that book for her to sign. So that's why I'm laughing, because
Oh,
okay, I need to read that book. Okay. Now, Sonia, any additional advice for, okay, I would want to focus with women, because I feel your energy, and okay, this is good. Women in tech. Your additional advice to women entrepreneurs or immigrants who would want to start their own.
So for women immigrants, I would definitely say do your research. There are so many programs out there for particularly women in tech and women immigrants new to the country who want to get into the startup world. There are so many programs in place. There is funding in place that's available to women, and a lot of women don't know about it and don't use it because you don't know what you don't know, right? So I would say, if you are an immigrant, if you want to get into like a very male dominated industry like tech, do a little bit of research and figure out what are some of the programs that are out there that can help you get started versus doing it from scratch, or going out and finding a venture capital right away to fund your project. There are so many resources out there that will help you get started without having to give up shares and all that stuff, right?
Okay, with that, do you offer mentorship? Are you open to offering mentorship with immigrant? Is that okay with
I
you?
do.
Wow,
Yeah, I do.
perfect.
Like, I get that a lot. I welcome it. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm sure you're going to share my information.
Yes,
I always respond. Yeah, call me, email me. I'm happy to do it.
perfect, perfect. All right. So Sonia, thank you very much. And for sure, this is not the last time that we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk again. All right. Thank you, and have a great day.
The Daily Network presents 1011. 10 minutes of meaningful conversation with immigrant leaders and entrepreneurs every Friday at 11 a.m.